When you start up the Day Trading Visual Basics system, a master platform chart appears, and there is the candle charts with a number of upper and lower bands on it, and there are 5 subcharts that go along with it. In this example here, I am going to show you what I mean. And in this chart, I'm actually in a weekly chart, and there are, besides the candles, the yellow line that you can just barely see is a deviation, standard deviation line. It's like a Bollinger Band line. And then we have the price chart, the trend chart, the power chart, the zip chart, and the swing chart. Those are the 5 charts that are associated with the, and they're each marked with DTVB and then the name of the chart. Now I'm going to move this one back, and I'm going to show you what the candle chart breakdown is. This screen has the candle charts plus the trend chart and the power chart. The green line that you see going through here is the 20 moving average. Now when the candle, or on the platform, that is a dotted line or a dashed line. And so too is the red line, which is the 50 moving average as it's coming through here. The white line is the long white dash line, and that's the 100 moving average. And this tan line down below is the 200 moving average as it crosses down under all the candles. The other lines are the yellow line and the pink line and the Zion line are standard deviation lines that we've designed for the system to achieve the desired goals that we wanted in recognizing peaks and low cycles. And the gray band line, usually the gray band is identified a little bit wider than what I have drawn on here, and that's a channel type band. And again, it gives us a lot of information, or at least it can. You can see how the candles are hugging the line as they're going down, and they're riding just under the channel band as they climb up in this uptrend. So that's a brief breakdown on the candle chart. And now we have the trend chart. And the trend chart is what we use. It's one of the 3 charts that we use when we're searching for gaps. You have to have the identical indicators. You have to have a down touch in the trend chart if you're looking for a gap up. And you have to have a pattern, a location pattern, and with shapes. There's 2 types of patterns in the power chart, and that is shapes patterns and location patterns. And with those 3, then you can locate gaps. And the yellow, blue, pink on the trend line, on the trend chart, is the short-term trend line, or lines, or I should say the trend group. There's actually 3 groups that represent the short-term trend. And the blue line up here is the long-term trend as it's passing through, and again, that's normally a dashed line, but for emphasis on being able to see it on the videos, I made all of the lines solid. Also, the trend chart is faster than the short-term trio, the trend trio lines, blue, pink, and yellow, are the first group of the short-term trend lines. We tried to create a long-term trend line in one line, but we found that it was not to our advantage to do that. And so we ended up with 3 groups: the trend trio, also the power orange and green, and the swing red and green lines. They're drawn in a little wider than the other lines, and they're slower moving lines, but they also act as the short-term trend. And it tells us a lot about their direction, about where the forces are in the stock by the direction that they're going. For example, in this long green 10 or 12 day green candle, you can see that they went from under zero and then crossed over zero and then climbed up continued up to the top over here before they started going down. And so the trend chart, the greatest indicator that we have on the entire system is trend red, and when trend red has crossed over green, that's the start of an uptrend, and when it stays over green, it is typically an uptrend. And of course, when it crosses down, like right here, when it crosses under green, trend red travels under green, you're in a downtrend, as you can see here by these 4 red candles. In the power chart, we have, I'm trying to expand this a little bit. In the power chart, we have a number of indicator lines, and each of them represents, the power red is the position indicator, primary position indicator of the system. When red crosses over zero or up over zero, you're in the start of prices up, and when it goes down underneath, you're in a situation with prices down. As it's traveling underneath zero, it typically will notch prices down or keep them real flat. When it's traveling over zero, it has a tendency that they go up. Like even in this case here, when trend red was it wasn't going up much, but it was high, and as a result, the candles kept going higher. On this next chart I have is the price chart with the candles. This is the price chart here. The zip chart is in the middle, and the swing chart is down here. The swing gray line is our deep cycle indicator. It records the peaks and valleys very effectively, or I might say the low cycles and the high cycles very effectively in its ability to see those reversals. The power pink over here that we showed earlier, that's a short deep cycle indicator. It records short movements or short cycles that only last a few days, and that is very effective as a deep cycle indicator in either high cycles or low cycles. Here's the swing red and green. The swing red is always on top. It never crosses over green. And the blue line is your crossover indicator. When the blue is traveling above red, you're in an uptrend. And when the blue crosses over green, you're in the start of an uptrend. And then when it crosses over red, you're in a better uptrend or a more active uptrend. And sometimes when the blue crosses over the green, it is a decent start, but it can be weak when as it first crosses over green. The zip chart has zip red in it, and zip red and the swing pink down here in the swing chart. Zip red and swing pink are the 2 quickest lines on the system. Zip red will travel, like in this case here, zip red is at 98, and right now when you look at it, it's at 2. So it dropped 96 points in one day. And this is how we tell the strength in the system, by indicator line length. Zip red is our fastest moving line. Zip pink doesn't move like zip red, at least in the numbers count. It's swing pink is very quick to change directions. It's a leading indicator. And price Zion is also a price barometer along with zip pink and the 3 price lines. So there's 5 price barometers. They track right with the price. When the price goes up, these lines go up, all 5 of them. They simply move together. And like I say, we have one on the zip chart and one on the swing chart, just to identify issues that we need to recognize when cycles are changing. And so there's Zip Green. When Zip Green is at 0, Zip Green and Zip Zion are your they track trades in and out of the market, or I should say buyers in and out of the market. Technically they track the trades, but I think of buyers when I look at the lines. And they tell us, for example, when Zip Green is at 0, there are less people buying. In fact, there are a lot of people selling the stock. When Zip Green is at 100, there are a lot of people buying the stock. And Zip Zion is the grandfather to Zip Green, and when Zion is at 0, there is a huge number of people selling. Same is true when Zip Zion is at 100, there's a huge number of people buying into the stock. So it's important to keep the distinctions of the indicators, what they are and what they are not. And there's just dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of documents to read about the system and become familiar with it. The videos obviously are a very fast way to bring you up to speed on how the system works and how the reactions go. Here's an example with Zip Zion. When Zip Zion is lowest and going up, you're in an uptrend, just like it shows from this red candle for the next 3 days. And at that point, then the following days, Zip Zion disappears. But of course, you can tell, what we can tell, like for example, is swing Zion is in a low angle peak on the top. Whenever you get a low angle in indicators, in the day trading visual basic system, you have a next day down situation. And so, and especially Zip Zion, because why? Because it's a price barometer. And so when Zip Zion and Zip Pink, for example, are divergent, that's real key. In this particular situation right here, they're divergent, and you're in a brief uptrend here. Things are moving up, but you get a pretty nice sized red candle the next day. And so divergence tells you a lot about what is happening within the system. There's a lot of other information I could give, but I do want to keep this short. This is just a basic understanding of how the master platform chart works.